世界の終わりで生まれた光、今風の中。Chapter 11. The fight for freedom rages on. Normally I use this space to talk about stuff I put in this chapter, but now I'd rather address a common question. So a lot of people have been asking me if I'm a fan of the Arc Yagami and if this fanfic is inspired by the adventures of Dark Yagami. No! Awesome of the Rebellion is a complete original idea I came up with on my own. Because I'm smart, just like Awesome. But that's not to say Dark Yagami isn't a great writer, because he is, and you should all totally check him out. I personally consider the Adventures of Dark Yagami to be a literary masterpiece, and this fanfiction what Miami connection is to movies. Awesome had been made king of Asia, and he made it the greatest country in the world. Everyone was happy since Awesome as emperor, and all the poor people was gone since they got rid of communism. All of Japan, China, and Russia were United States, but there were still evil people fighting against them, because they hated freedom! In the middle of the Siberian tundra, the Black Knights were fighting an army of communist, zombie, and robots who were left over from Mao and Stalin and Lenin's defeat. The Black Knights had nightmares when a lot of their soldiers were Chiners who died really quick, and the commies had superpowers. We must defeat the terrorists! For Japan! So the Black Knight. But then, one of the communists transformed into a Soviet tank and ran over a bunch of their soldiers, and spun around and shot Kamehamehas from its cannon, blew up their nightmares. But then, the Gypsy Danger showed up and stabbed a sword through the tank. Colin and Lee melted all the armor off with their plasma cannon and cooked it, and then shoved it into Gypsy Danger's nuclear reactor, which ate the whole thing. And lots of robots aimed their laser guns at Gypsy Danger. But then, Orange-kun showed up in Cherno Alpha. He shot lightning fists at the robots, which caused them to explode and destroying half the army instantly. And finally, Awesome showed up in Askiker Prime. Surrender now! I will free your country whether you like it or not! He heroized. Awesome shot a pistol which ricocheted off the heads of a dozen zombies and killed them all. Meanwhile, in Siberia, Lelouch was swimming through the snow with Rasputin. Where are you taking me? Lelouch asked curious faithfully. I am taking you to the darkest corner of Russia, so I can teach you how to become a communist, Rasputin said evilly. I am the originally creator of the communist Geass, which I invented as my final revenge when I was drowned in the icy waters of the motherland. I passed it along to Lenin, and Dan Mao, and Dan Stalin, and Dan you shall have the communist Geass like they did and continue the legacy. I am ready. Teach me, master, said Lelouch, who was still evil and possessed because Orange-kun didn't get the chance to uncommunistify him. Rasputin pimp-smacked Lelouch. No, first you must pass training. A physically weak man cannot be a communist. He cackled. Rasputin brought Lelouch to a giant river. Except the river was made of ice and there were sharks in it. Except the sharks were giant because of the nuclear bombs that fell, and they also had radiation breath weapons. You must pass this river and get to the other side without dying. Are you ready? Rasputin asked, then pushed him into the river. Lelouch scream-faced as sharks started jumping out of the ice and breathing nuclear fire at him. Meanwhile, back at Siberia, Awesome's army managed to defeat the evil rebels under his brilliant command. A couple of commies tried to surrender, asking to join him in exchange for food and clothes, but Awesome knew that they were evil by nature and couldn't be trusted. So he sliced them in half with his katana and sandatsu'd their spines. Colin parachuted down from the top of Gypsy Danger. That was a great battle, Awesome, she said. Awesome smiled. Yeah, wanna have sex? He asked and then did. Awesome and Colin made love on the ice while he was still covered in commie blood. The sex was so hot that the ice melted and they fell into the water below. Oh no, Awesome, said Orange-kun, who jumped in to save him. But he was a cyborg, so he malfunctioned and sparks exploded when he fell in the water. But luckily Awesome could swim, so he grabbed Colin and Orange-kun when they passed out. But unluckily, the water was hit by the radiation and had nuclear sharks in it too. Awesome had to fight all the sharks without any weapons and naked while protected Colin and Orange-kun. He grabbed both of them tight and swung them like clubs when a shark came by, knocking all its teeth out. Lelouch swam over and grabbed the teeth, using them like daggers to stab the shark to death. He then flung the rest of the teeth at other sharks from a distance, like shurikens. The nuclear sharks breathed radiation waves that Awesome countered by using his pirate Geass to summon lots of rum, since drinking alcohol protects you against radiation. No, I'm not lying, this is real, look it up. One shark swam towards Awesome with his jaws open, so Awesome stuck both his hands up and caught its jaws. His military training was so strong that the shark's jaws couldn't close. Awesome then used all his strength to snap the shark's jaws back, screaming as blood spewed everywhere, but only bubbles came out of his mouth since he was underwater. Another shark then swam up. Awesome grabbed the shark he had just killed and pulled it in front of the other, causing it to swim into the dead shark's mouth. Then Awesome yanked the jaws back down, clamping them on the new shark and killing it too. Eventually, the nuclear sharks realized Awesome was too strong and swam away. Awesome grabbed Colin Lawrence-kun and swam back to the surface. Normally, a person would have died from being naked in such cold, but Awesome was so hot-blooded that it didn't affect him at all. Colin still needed medical attention though. Meanwhile, in Siberia, Lelouch was having more trouble dealing with his nuclear sharks. By the time he reached the end of the river, his entire body was radiated, his hair was falling out, and all his sperm had died. He was also bleeding a lot and was probably missing a limb. Congratulations! You have proved your strength, Rasputin said proudly but also evilly. Oh God, kill me! Scream-faced Lelouch. Rasputin laughed. All that radiation will come in handy for the next part of our test. Rasputin again. Rasputin swam through more snow with Lelouch, who had to swim fast since all his blood loss was attracting more sharks. Eventually, they reached a Russian village, but there weren't any people walking around. Instead, there were super mutants. These villagers were turned into super mutants from all the nuclear fallout caused by your battle with Awesome, said Rasputin. Anyone with a conscience would have felt bad then, but not Lelouch because he was evil and still possessed by communism. They look so powerful. No doubt they will make excellent soldiers, said Lelouch evil face. Lelouch crawled over to the village, climbing on top of the tallest hut he could find. All the super mutants looked up at him. They could only see in nuclear vision, so they all saw Lelouch as being a super mutant like them with all his radiation. My comrades, I shall grant you all revenge against the one who did this to you, he said, and then used his mind control Geass to make them all cheer. Lelouch reached into his pocket and pulled out a poster of Awesome. This is the man who nuked your village. Join me and we shall destroy him, in the name of communism. The super mutants all cheered and got ready for war. They picked up pieces of the destroyed Kremlin that were lying around from the battle before, and began sharpening them into weapons of war. Meanwhile, in Siberia, Awesome quickly finished sexing Colin before sending her to get medical treatment and clothes for her cold. After getting dressed, he shot the commie prisoner the Black Knights had captured, feeding their bodies to the sharks below in an attempt to tame them. This was a very successful battle, but I feel like we're forgetting something, Awesome said, and was right! Suddenly, there was a giant explosion that killed hundreds of Awesome's Chinese and Japanese soldiers. In the sky were nightmares with the flag of Britannia on their frames. Alright, that. The British fired more missiles, blowing up ice and sending Awesome's forces scattering. Leading the nightmares was none other than Suzaku in his Lancelot. Awesome, we still have a battle to finish. Suzaku screamed passionately as he thrust forward. You betcha, said Awesome as he flew Ass-Kick Prime up to meet him. But then he saw something else. From the ninja's darkness, Uber Death Reaper 9001 appeared. What? Saber? But that means... Awesome. Yes, we have finally put our differences aside to join forces, Suzaku went. And that's not all. Saber opened his cockpit, revealing that he had... a fourth eye! To be continued!